From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Vayetze. It's in God's hands. I'd like to take an excursion on this Parsha, which speaks about the marriage of Yaakov, first to Leah, then to Rachel, perhaps later to some degree, Bilhah and Zilpah. I'd like to focus on the idea of marriage and when do we get married? When's an appropriate day for getting married? And we'll come back to the Parsha a little bit later. So the Mishnah in Ksuba says, B'sula nisei s'lom ravi, v'almana yom chamishi, that a woman who's getting married for the first time, she should get married on a Wednesday. Husband and wife will be together on Thursday night, what we call Wednesday night. In Jewish law would be considered Yom Chamishi, Thursday. And in Almana, a second marriage, you could get married on Thursday, and then they would be together on Thursday night, which we would call Yom Shishi, the sixth day, part of Friday. That's what the Mishnah says. Now, is that what people do today? How do we come to the point where people get married on Sundays and other days? So, firstly, why do they recommend Wednesday? So they had three reasons are mentioned. The Mishnah says it's because in those days there was a long engagement period, where not just the modern concept of engagement, which has no legal teeth to it, but rather they would actually give the ring, not an engagement ring, but a marriage ring at first, and then months later they would seal the deal with the chuppah and the sheva brachos and coming to his house and yichud and things like that. The second stage of marriage, the nisuin. And in that period, she's not allowed to be unfaithful. So the question was she faithful or not? So the wedding night, he wants to know, was she faithful? If she's not a virgin, then she cheated on him, perhaps during this time. And that could be a very serious offense. So we want the husband to discover that the night of the wedding and then come to court immediately the next day. We don't want him to delay, because if indeed she cheated, they should not stay together. So we want the court to be open the next day, so they have to get married on Wednesday so they could come to court immediately on Thursday with this accusation, or not, or to clarify that it's incorrect. Now, what about Monday? Monday, the court also convenes. Well, the Gemara gives another reason for Thursday, because for Wednesday, because Shaktu Chachamim, the rabbis were careful about the Jewish girls, that they should have a proper wedding, and we want a husband to work on that wedding for 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and marry her on Wednesday. Good. So we have two reasons now for getting married on Wednesday, about the court and about time for preparation. Then there's a third reason. If they get married on Wednesday, and they're together on what's halachically considered Thursday. Thursday was the day when the blessing was given to the birds and the fish. And we know the fish are very productive. They have one brood of fish, you have 100 fish. So we want the couple to be productive as well. So it's good to get married on Wednesday, be together on Thursday. For a widow, it's a good idea to get married on Thursday, and then they can be together on the night of what we call Thursday night, which halachically is Friday. On Friday, the blessing was given to the Jews, to the human beings, to have children, be fruitful and multiply. So it's a great day to get married. Then the Gemara says, nowadays, we don't have court on Thursday anyway. People don't always have courts on different days, not necessarily on Monday and Thursday. You can get married b'chol yom, any day you want to. So Tosfos says, Rashi's grandchildren, they say, wait a second. Get married on any day? Isn't it still a good idea to get married on Wednesday or Thursday to have a blessing? The blessing of the fish, the blessing of the human being. What's going on? So Tosfos says, those are nice reasons to get married on those days, but it's not the real reason. The real reason was because of the court. If there's no court, you can get married any day you want to. Then the question is, any day you want to, even on Friday. After all, there was, the Shulchan Aruch says, maybe you shouldn't get married on Sunday or Friday because you'll end out violating Shabbos a little bit. And some people said, no, it's okay, because when the man was making the wedding, so we're afraid he might violate Shabbos because the woman is pushing and pressuring him. I want to have a beautiful wedding. But nowadays the woman makes the wedding, a woman is not going to pressure herself to violate Shabbos. She's not going to violate Shabbos. Although today, to be careful, it's better not to get married on Saturday night. It's difficult to observe all the laws of Shabbos when you're getting ready for a wedding. So that is a problem. It's brought to my attention that the Ramah, in his questions, in his responsa, in Kuf Chavhei, in 125, he says that, don't criticize me. I married a woman on Shabbos. What happened? Generally, we don't get married on Shabbos. Absolutely not. But the Ramah, once, he did a wedding on Shabbos. Why? There was a girl who couldn't find enough money to get married. You need money, you have to bring in some money to the deal. Otherwise, a lot of weddings wouldn't take place in those days. So she was very poor. Her parents were poor. So nobody wanted to marry her. Even the groom didn't want to marry her. So finally, they found some people who were going to contribute some money. And then they ran into a fight. And they refused to continue with the wedding. And they were discussing. And by the time they finished, it was 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday night. So he said, there's a Gemara in Vayetze, Lamed Vav Beis 36b. The Gemara there says that you're not allowed to do certain things on Shabbos, even though they're sort of a mitzvah, but not exactly. Like you don't have to do them, but if you do them, it's nice. Like getting married. So the Gemara says, getting married, it's a mitzvah. Why do you call it a reshus, something that's optional, when it's a mitzvah? That's what Rashi says. Tosfos, Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi's grandson, says, no, read it like this. Why do you say that you're not allowed to get married on Shabbos? Because you might come to write the ksuba or whatever. It's a mitzvah, and we should do it even if there might be a possibility of writing, but you'll avoid the writing. So Tosfos has this reading, the Rabbeinu Tam, that theoretically you could get married on Shabbos. If you're marrying for the first time and you have no children, you're going to do the mitzvah of children, having children, Pruvu. And also, why can't you get married on Shabbos? Because you might write. Who's going to write? The chas and the groom when he writes the ketubah. But the groom doesn't write the ketubah anymore. Now we're afraid that grooms may not know how to write. So the rabbi, or in those days the shamash, would write the ketubah. You think the rabbi or the shamash are going to violate Shabbos? They're not going to do that. It's only the groom we were afraid of. So therefore, since the whole law shouldn't apply anymore, and therefore, in this particular circumstance, where this poor girl is having trouble getting married, it would be embarrassing. And he mentions, if you get married on Sunday, the goyim get married on Sunday. You can make this girl get married on Sunday look like a goy? No. So he was against weddings on Sunday too. So he decided to marry her on Shabbos. But in general, we don't do that. That was just a one-time thing. The Ramah, in his great kindness, didn't want to embarrass this girl, a poor girl. She's having so much trouble finding a groom and getting married. So, what does it turn out? That although there were certain days that seemed like fortunate to get married, in the end, you can get married any day you want to. There were those who try to preserve the Mishnah and still get married on Wednesday as a custom, but the general law is get married anytime you want to. Shulchan Aruch. Comes the Ramah, 500 years ago, Ashkenazic authority, and he says, get married whenever you want to, but it's better to get married in the first half of the month, because the second half of the month is bad luck, because, so to speak, because the first half of the month the moon is waxing, and which is a good sign for the king of Israel, for the Jewish people that we're growing, and where things will get better. But when the moon is waning, it's a sign of destruction, and God forbid, bad things for the Jewish people. So you don't want to get married then. Get married in the first half of the month. Which is very cumbersome. It means you can only get married half the year. The other half you can't get married because it's the wrong half of the month. So comes the Aruch HaShulchan, and he says, I don't get it. We're not concerned about the blessing for the fish on Thursday night, on Wednesday night, it's called Thursday. We're not concerned about the blessing for the human being on Thursday night, Friday. That we said, you can get married any day. All of a sudden you can come up with a new reason to get married on a particular time. It's not even mentioned in the Talmud because it's the end of the month. Are you kidding? Tamim tiyeh Hashem lokecha, pasuk in Parshat Shoftim. You should be pure with God. We shouldn't go after divinations and witchcraft and sorcery and horoscopes. We, reading the clouds, reading the tea leaves, we should just be simple with God. Just hope for the best, get married, and hope everything will be fine. God will take care. This idea that it's not the tea leaves that you read that are going to solve your problems, but rather doing the right thing and getting married, doing mitzvot, learning Torah. These are things that will help us. Everything else is not important. This idea is something that's emphasized in our Parshat Vayetze. Because what does it say? It says that Leah, who was always calling out to God, and God heard her afflictions, and he saw her afflictions, and he heard her voice, and she thanks God. She had many children. But Rachel, who thought that if she took the mandrakes, if she didn't sleep with her husband, but she got the mandrakes, then the next time she sleeps with her husband, she'll have children. Mandrakes, that's why I have children, through mandrakes. Maybe it's an aphrodisiac, maybe not. Maybe it's a superstition, maybe it's not. But that's not how that's not how a matriarch has children. A matriarch has children by praying. And this is an important lesson that it's true. We need to have ishtadlus. We need to do as much as we can to help our situation. If you're having trouble having children, you might need fertility treatment, whatever you need. If you're sickly, you need to go to the doctor. No question. But ultimately, prayer should play a very central role. And any times there's a problem. Anytime there's a problem, we should run right to prayer. In addition, we have to take practical measures to deal with the situation. But first and foremost, we should run to God. We should run to prayer. We should lean on God. And to the extent that we're running to other things, like Rachel thought she could complain to her husband, that'll solve the problem. To the extent that we don't lean on God, we've missed an opportunity. That every crisis, as one assistant to the president once said, every crisis is an opportunity. You have a crisis, an opportunity to get close with God. And Rachel didn't realize that her barrenness was a wonderful opportunity to pray to God like Yitzchak did for Rivka, and like Leah did when she was having just so many troubles. When we do that, hopefully God will hear us, answer us, and like Leah, our prayers will be answered. God will hear us, He will see our affliction, and He'll save us and solve all of our problems. Thanks for joining us here at the Anshe Sephardi Beth Elameth Congregation for our discussion of the Parsha. Join us each week for the discussion of the holidays, how-to videos, and thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.